welcome back to our channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Rodney and today I'm going to show you a few snippets that I sneakily took at MinaLima's talk at the V&A Museum. So without further ado, let's go on with the video. So I was all very excited because, as you can tell, I love MinaLima. MinaLima make all the graphic props for Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts. They're pretty much the wizards in a Muggle world, making all the magical things real for us that we can all covet and want to buy. Yeah, so it's all down to them. So when I found out they were doing a talk at the V&A Museum, I was like, I can't resist going because they're going to be there and I want to find out what they're going to say. So anyway, we found out what they call the kind of props that they make, and they call it graphic props.
Just because I don't understand the world of film, when you say prop, is that the name for every single thing that you produce?
Yeah, exactly. All the objects.
Yes, yeah. So it's sort of been called graphic props because we can't really find another way of describing. There's lots of prop making in a film, so there's all sorts of objects that are being manufactured on site especially for a film like this. But the graphics is a particular segment of that, which is anything to do with a graphic application. It could be a floor design or a wallpaper or a signage on a shop front, but it could also be a miniature book or a letter.
Label, yeah.
So it's very broad, and actually I think it's probably what keeps us connected to the world of graphics and not why we've never stepped into a more conventional graphic design.
One of the snippets that I found were quite funny was that Mira said she was going to be drawing right up until the talk, so she'd be drawing, get into the car and come straight to us. So obviously they were working quite down to a deadline. Now unfortunately, they didn't give any snippets away of the new Fantastic Beasts film. Like, they were very tight-lipped. I'm sure they very well rehearsed and keeping their mouth very shut on anything. I mean, the only thing that I could think that might have slipped out was maybe something to do like family tree, maybe something, because they said, but then they were talking about like the black family tree as well. So, but I wasn't sure if they kind of did that to cover up. So I think that anything that they may have maybe slipped up on was maybe like to do with the family tree and how people are related. So I was maybe thinking about how that could be related to Fantastic Beasts, but maybe I'm just stretching and like looking for things that aren't there. But you know, I'm always looking for little snippets that I can find out. A little bit of snippet here is like where they got their inspiration from.
Got Harry Potter to come and get inspiration. Sometimes it's quite direct, so you might have a specific prop that, I don't know, designing the tapestry. You probably remember that any of you have seen the films of tapestry, you know, go and look at tapestries really to see the kind of personality. It's often about the personality of something rather than just the style. But sometimes it's looking at, I don't know, the ironwork, the shapes of things that you might find that think that'll make a really interesting frame for a label that we're doing. So
we were just walking to come here, and yeah, we could never arrive here because we would be so distracted with all the...
They also spoke about things that weren't from Fantastic Beasts or Harry Potter, which I found quite interesting because they worked on the Imitation Game. And one of the things that must be quite annoying on their part was that they had to make two sets of these props because the way that the filming went is that they made all the props and they made all the set design, but then it got blown up. But they couldn't do that at the end of the filming, which would have made sense. They had to do it in the beginning, so then they had to make double of everything. So it was like, that doesn't make any sense. You know, we're thinking like, you know, they only need one or two, but they said like, you know, the books and the props they have to make like duplicates of it in case like some got damaged or some got like, you know, wet, and some got obviously destroyed on purpose. They had to make sure that, you know, if one take, it's not like they've just got one book to do because of that, because then that, you know, they'd have to wait ages for them to make another one, so I had to make like duplicates. So it just made me think like, how many versions of everything are available? Like, I want them. Like, they're obviously not going to be used anymore. I was like, can't I have them? But yeah, that's obviously not going to happen.
With J.K. Rowling's work, it was what she did so successfully in the books was to sort of anchor everything in a reality, and I'm sure that's why it's been so easy for so many millions of people to be attached to it and feel that you know, take possession of it. And that was kind of what we decided to do visually. So every every prop that we took on, we would always try and start with the reality and then shift it a little bit into, so a newspaper will have all the elements of a muggle or a real newspaper.
Because you wrote the content for the newspapers, didn't you?
With just the headlines.
I found out that Mira Mina's favourite prop was the Marauders map, and Eduardo Lima's favourite props that he made were the Daily Prophets, which I love both of them, so I'm glad that they like both of them, because obviously I absolutely love them.
Writing headlines, it is an art. I think it's very difficult. But one of the visits that J.K. Rowling did in the set, and she came to see us, was one day we had loads of newspapers on a wall, and she was reading every single headline very carefully, and we were like, oh god. And then she came back and said, who writes all that? And we said, both of us, I said, no, it's perfect, it's how it should be. Because as Mio was saying, we always try to link to the reality, but to the wizarding shape of it. With the headlines, we were doing the same.
So another really interesting fact that I found out was that Mira actually owns her own handwriting, which sounds like a really peculiar, but because she designed the Marauders map, and a lot of her handwriting was that they had to like actually turn into like a font or typeface, and then like whatever it's called, and then like use it in that. Because it's her handwriting, they had to copyright it, because everything we found out that they make when they're designing for Harry Potter Fantastic Beasts, WB owns, they don't actually own anything. So that would then make conflict for her, that in future when she had to like basically use her own handwriting, so she had to copyright her own handwriting so that in future she could use it without copyright infringement, which is just bizarre. So she was like, yeah, so I'm very glad to know that she owns her own font, which I thought was just hilarious. I found it a very interesting talk. There were a lot of questions from actual designers, like how they could get into the film industry, like how did they do into graphic design for films, and I'll leave a link in the description bar below, because I actually took some notes on one of the forums that I think they set up for this particular purpose, to try and get more graphic designers into films. So if any of you lot are watching this that are actually graphic designers who want to get into films, this is the particular method that you can, so look out for that. Right, that's it for this week's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed that. Now, this is actually a paid talk, so I actually had to pay to go to this, so not everyone actually got to turn up. So I hope I didn't get in trouble for sharing this video, but hopefully you enjoyed this little sneak peek into that. If you have, please do give me a thumbs up. And if you have missed my last video, you can see that by clicking on that box over there. And if you're new here, please do subscribe to my channel for more of the same Wizarding World content. You can do that by clicking on that button over there. And with anything that I do, the Wizarding World is just one spell away.